Hey, what's up, Camp Broadside? Hey, if you've dabbled in the saddle hunting world at all, there's probably a pretty good chance you've heard of the name Greg Staggs. Well, we're honored to have him on here with us tonight. We're going to dive off into some trapping for beginners. We're going to talk about his 25 season and the big buck he put down. We're going to dive off into some public land hunting. So, without further ado, please help me give a big old Camp Broadside welcome, Mr. Greg One Stickin Staggs. Staggs.
Troy's talking about the 10-point miss. Swears it was close, but it don't sound like it. Brandon's grinning, bragging about his dope. Bartlett's spike, well, we all know it's blood trails and bucktails. Round the fire where the whiskey sails. Every hunt's a story, every shot's a chance. What's your story to tell? What's your...
I'm telling you, that shit was the craziest thing I ever seen.
Greg Staggs, what's happening?
How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm really tickled about having you on here for sure.
It's my
You've
honor,
been one
man.
of the people in my back of my head. I was like, if I could just get Greg on here, that would be great. Now here we are, man. My dreams come true.
Well, I hope it's not disappointing, brother.
I know it won't be. My worry is there's so much I want to talk to you about. You know what I mean? And trying to just keep it at a decent time length is going to be difficult. But we'll do
that's
our
a problem,
best.
and I struggle with that in my own life, man. I've got so many interests and so many things that we're passionate about. You know, we jump from turkeys to trapping to bow hunting to catfishing, and then it all shed hunting, and it starts all over again. You know.
Yeah, and it's so easy just to get caught up going from one season to the next. Yeah, I'm just like, but I have been for a while, and I think even when I was doing them remotely, I was like, I want to talk to Greg. Yeah. There's so much that I know. I went back and watched your YouTube channel, Staggs in the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and started looking through videos, and you've been doing this quite a long time, putting videos out.
We just finished our 5th year, so you know, I would have loved to have churned out a lot more videos. I don't know. I think we've probably. We're a couple hundred videos in now. Yeah. But I wish I could have been more consistent. The channel would have grown a lot more. But it's not my primary source of income, and it's nothing that I enjoy what I do with the YouTube channel and everything. Yeah. We're trying to get a lot more consistent. In fact, my wife has agreed that we're setting aside Film Fridays. We're trying to use every Friday to film something, even if we can't complete a full video. We're gonna do something, some B-roll, something every Friday, so we can get a lot more consistent in doing that. Because that is, I have 5 years, 5 months, and 4 days of corporate America left. Not that I'm counting at all, but
who's counting?
Yeah, exactly. But that is a huge part of my exit strategy of my retirement plan, is to grow the YouTube channel and other things along with Staggs in the Wild. Yeah, and so that I supplement my retirement income, the 401k, and everything else that's out there. And so I do want to get a lot more consistent, so that when I step away from corporate America, I step right into continuing to do that.
Yep. I have the same plan. I got 3, maybe 4 years if I go that 4th year. Yep. But and I'm hoping I'm just gonna keep selling camo. Yep. Keep doing podcasts, traveling around to shows, talking to people like you. You know, I mean that's my dream retirement. Yeah, so absolutely. And we're on our way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty stoked.
Well, you and I were talking about earlier before we even started the podcast. I went and got a haircut Monday before I hit the road and started working my way around to this side of the state so I could be here. And my barber was telling me, it's like, yeah, I'm going to continue to work till I'm like 75 or so, because I just want to stay busy and productive. And I was like, literally, I'm like, stop. What do you mean stay? Like, dude, you don't have to work to stay busy. Like, not work for another man or work in a job. Like, there's so many things I'm passionate about. We talked about that. So many things that can occupy your time, that you can chase your passions, that doesn't require going to a job.
Yep. It's amazing, though, when you say that, because I think about, there's people that I know that are in their 70s, they're retired, used to be in very good health and whatnot. And they've just kind of going downhill because they don't do nothing.
Exactly.
And I just can't imagine being like that. But
I can't imagine not having passions outside the job.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You got to have life outside of work.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
But I know, so there's a couple subjects I want to touch on.
Okay.
I want to get into a little bit about trapping, just some beginner stuff, for maybe some tips for some beginners. Mm-hmm. I know you shot a nice public land buck last season?
Actually, so actually last year, we can get into that. So last year was the first year that my buck did not come off public land. A
Right.
lot of people,
Okay. Maybe I didn't.
I alluded to that in my Facebook post, but I really didn't call it out so much. And I'm actually writing a story for Peterson's Bow Hunter magazine now, because Peterson's is kind of, I think Peterson's folded, and now it's just Bowhunter. But so yeah, I'm going to be writing a story for Bowhunter magazine. I'm writing several stories this year for Bowhunter, a couple for Bowhunter, one for Saddle Hunter magazine, which is a special issue of Bowhunter now.
Okay.
But yeah, so everyone has known me as a public land DIY walk-in. I mean, literally, if I kill a buck, any Tom, Dick, or Harry could have killed the same buck, because he's public land DIY,
That's right.
over the counter. Every one of my, I don't know, I've got 13 or 1400 inches of antler in my downstairs room, almost like this, right? And so what I had done is I had accomplished a goal that I set up for myself a long time ago, which I was calling the ultimate quest. And it dates back to the early days of the internet. I got online and we were just bantering around. There was a bunch of people. I mean, bow hunting forums weren't a big deal yet. We were all kind of creating our own space at that point. Again, this is like 30 years ago. And we were just talking and joking and jiving, and somebody asked the questions like, hey, what would your top 6 buck score? And we got into that conversation, and somebody said, man, it's a really big deal if your best 6 bucks go over 900 inches. And so we started talking about that, and I just kind of latched on that concept. I'm like, DIY, over the counter, archery only, best 6 bucks, 900 inches. And I just kind of, I didn't make a big deal about it, but I just set that as an internal goal and quietly went after it. And so 2 years ago, a lot of people remember seeing the pictures of me floating out that buck on a canoe.
Yeah.
So that was the buck that completed 6 bucks for 900 inches.
Nice.
Okay. So that was kind of cool. That was like, check the box, done it. And then that kind of opened, because I did not really want to stray from that goal until I completed it. And along the way, I killed a bunch of other bucks that didn't really contribute to it. I shot a million does because we haven't bought red meat at a grocery store in 27 years. So I was feeding the family along the way, and I could have completed that quest sooner if I also wasn't trying to stock the groceries, stock the freezer, right?
Right.
So because it was also simultaneous with that goal was a goal of not having to go buy red meat at a grocery store. So it was putting 3 or 4 or 5 does a year in the freezer and trying to target a big buck at the same time, which made it doubly difficult, because a lot of times if you'd let that first doe or two walk by, maybe there's a big buck back there. But I went ahead and drilled that first doe.
Yep.
Well, the hunt's pretty much over at that point. So it was a mixture of the two. But anyway, once I got that done, once I floated that buck out of the river, and my son did a great job taking some good pictures, and we got some video of it and everything.
That was amazing.
It was a very cool experience.
It was inspiring, because I'm like, I want to do that so bad.
It was really cool. The only thing that day, it was and you can look at the best picture it's actually the cover photo of my Facebook page, and you can see it was sprinkling really good. So if you look at the water, there's like raindrops hitting everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it made it incredibly difficult to take pictures that day, because my son would take 3 or 4 pictures and he had to wipe the lens off because his lens would just get coated. So we actually didn't get too many pictures, even though he took like 300 to get the 1 or 2 good ones that we got.
Right.
But anyway, when I checked that box, I'm like, I want to do some things. Like, I've always kind of wanted to go ask permission pieces and go knock on doors. And I've never done that because I wanted to do it all on public land. So last year I started knocking on doors, and I did that. And I did some urban hunting last year, sort of like if everyone's familiar with Seek One and all that. I did some urban hunting last year, which was really cool and mind blowing. If you, like me, I've spent 30 years in the woods on national forests or WMAs or whatever, state refuges and forests and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I'm in a tree and I'm watching a guy take his garbage out in the morning.
Hey man, I do several of that one I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
It's urban hunting.
Yeah.
I got a spot over here that I do urban hunting.
Yeah.
I like urban hunting.
It's super cool, man.
It's
And
just different.
For me, yeah, exactly. That was the big thing for me. It was just different, because I've done the same thing over and over and over, and I've chased that number, and I've chased the big bucks, and not that I'm not after big bucks anymore.
Right.
They're just in a different environment, and it's going after them a different way. So those bucks I killed last year were actually permission pieces, and so it was pretty cool.
Well, we'll still hit on that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of my wife runs daycare, and I've said it a lot of the different podcasts, but so we feed these kids, all we feed them for the most part, is deer meat.
Right. Yeah.
And so I try to get 4 to 5 deer every year.
Exactly.
And that's what because I'm like, I always take pride in that myself because I'm like, they're not getting no hormones, no steroids, none of that crap
Right.
that you get in other meat, you know.
Yeah.
So it's the healthiest stuff for them. So
Yeah.
I do the same thing. There's times that I'm like, I got to shoot this doe. I got to get meat in the freezer. And
Exactly.
that's my number one priority.
Right.
And then we'll work on the bones. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
But all right. So before we jump off into that stuff, which
Yeah.
we've already keyed in on a little bit, why don't you kind of just tell us who you are?
Yeah.
How you got into hunting, how you got into to be where you're at now, where you're writing from bow hunting magazines.
Yeah. Yeah, so I grew up. So we're in Missouri. A lot of people don't know that. I grew up on the exact opposite, as far away from here as you can get, almost. I grew up in the Boot Hill of Missouri, and the reason they call it that is it looks like, if you look at a map, it looks like the heel of a boot, and it's the part that sticks down in Arkansas. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
In. Basically, I grew up 3 miles from Arkansas. So if any of the listeners are out there like, God, he's from Missouri, his Arkansas, his accent sounds like he's from Western Kentucky. Well, that's because I'm probably closer to Western Kentucky than I am here. So I grew up in that little part there. We grew up, very candidly, we grew up really poor. My dad worked in a factory for 37 years. Mom barely got a GED. We just, no one ever talked to me about going to college. It just, they expected me to work in a factory as well. And so, but we grew up, monetarily poor, but we grew up rich in experiences. Dad made it really a key point. We had a couple beagles. We went rabbit hunting every Saturday. We didn't have deer in the Boot Hill of Missouri, so we went rabbit hunting and went frogging and fishing. So we would go to a local ditch. We call them ditches. A lot of people nowadays call them creeks, but in the Boot Hill, Missouri, it was all swampland. So what they did probably 150 years ago is they took big excavators and they just literally backed themselves out and dug big drainage ways and truly man-made ditches, and they're just in straight lines, and they're probably, most of them are an average of 10 to 15 feet across, maybe 5 or 6 foot deep, but they still hold a lot of water. And we would drop a truck off, drop another. Mom would help us put a second truck here, bring us back, and then we would float all night long, gigging and shooting frogs until we got to the truck. So I grew up frogging, rabbit hunting, fishing, sitting on the side of a ditch, and did that until I was out of high school for a year or so. Hardee's had called a couple times. That was my career trajectory. Nothing against Hardee's, but I didn't really want to spend the rest of my life working there. And so I was sitting there in the living room one day, and I remembered to this day, because Dad was reading the newspaper. He'd just got home from the factory, and I think I'll go to college. Just like that, out of the blue. And Dad, the paper went a crinkle, and he was like, what? What'd you say? I'm like, I think I'll go to college. I'm like, I don't have anything else to do. And so we scrambled. I didn't know what an ACT test was. We'd never done any prep. We hadn't set aside any money, nothing like that. So we had to figure out where to take the ACT test, and ended up at Jonesboro, Arkansas, and at Arkansas State University. And I was there for a year or so and realized that, you know what, we didn't plan for this. We didn't have any money set aside, and I was pretty broke.
Yeah.
And I was taking out student loans, and I worked full time at a sporting goods store there, but I was going out on Saturdays and some nights that I wasn't working, trying to kick up a rabbit from a fence row, I was trying to bring home food to eat.
Yeah.
And literally we were that poor. And I'd kill a rabbit every once in a while, maybe shoot a squirrel out of a tree, but it wasn't helping a lot. And I was wandering around in a Walmart one night, and I picked up the Wildlife Code handbook that tells you what seasons are in and everything. And I took it home, and I remember it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting there with my feet on the coffee table, and I'm thumbing through quail, pheasant, all these game animals, and I come to deer. I'm like, deer? They do have deer here. I forgot, because I didn't grow up with deer.
Right.
And I moved off to college. I'm like, huh. And I went back the next night, and I found a used bear whitetail bow. And if you know anything about Walmart, they don't sell used equipment. It was kind of a God thing that there was a used bow someone had returned, and some manager or some clerk hadn't paid attention because it had rust on it, had some arrows, and the bow didn't fit me, but I bought it, and it got me started. It didn't fit me. It was out of tune. I didn't kill a deer with it for a while, but it started me down that path. And later on, when I got married, I killed my first deer after I got married, and I was actually in grad school. I moved back up to Cape Girardeau, where I still live in that area now. And I killed my first doe, and that kind of got me. Actually, my first was a little 5-point buck, but then I started it started happening more, and I started, learning that, deer like edges, what they're looking for, and where do they hang out, and where are they bedding, and where are they looking for to eat on. And it took several years to figure it out because I didn't have a mentor. We didn't grow up deer hunting, and I just had to figure this stuff out on my own. But eventually, years kept going by, and all of a sudden, I started putting the pieces of the puzzle together more and more and more. And then again, like I said, that was about the time that realistically the internet kind of started. And I mean, I remember I was dialing up on the internet back when we make fun of the clicks and the whirs and AOL kind of stuff like that. That was when I got into the internet, and I found these forums, these early forums, and there were people that were jumping online. We were talking, and all my degrees are in English and journalism. Even though I didn't plan on going to college, I loved to read as a kid. And so that translated really easily into writing because I understood the English language and how people form sentences and grammar and all that. That part of my brain just clicked. And so it didn't take long that when all these forums were on there that I stood out as a writer and I didn't have a ton of knowledge, but my writing ability was so good. And then about the time that my hunting repertoire or experiences kicked in and it caught up, I started being able to write about my hunting. And this was a time, like I said, early on the internet, all the Michelle Eichler, who married Fred after a while, but she was originally Michelle Mazachia. Her dad started Muzzy Broadheads.
Okay.
She was online. Fred was online. Will Waller of the Waller family that has the Summit stands. All these people were actually online. Now you won't find hardly a manufacturer unless it's somebody in our niche that's smaller, right? But the big manufacturers actually had some of the founding people were online because it was also new.
Yeah.
And I stood out as a writer to them, and I could convey techniques or tips or thoughts better than a lot of people at the time. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I stand out much more. Everybody can write well on the internet now. But at that time, not a lot of people did. So I started having these offers. People would start messaging me behind the scenes, Muzzy and Summit, and all these people are like, hey, we really like how you represent yourself. We love what you're writing about. You don't have to just like push our brand totally, but we would love to have you on board. And so I got invited at the time by the guys to represent Summit and Muzzy and Bowtech and all these people. And so I was kind of in that first wave of what was called Pro Staff. Now we kind of mock it a little bit, right? The people that are on Pro Staff, because it's turned into a completely different thing.
Yes.
It's just a check the box. I want to be on I just wanted to have it on my resume. It's a completely, back then in those days, I was actually going and visiting the Waller family and visiting with those people and helping set up dealers. And it was a completely different experience back then. And so now when people are like, hey, you want to be on my Pro Staff? I'm like, no, not really. No,
it's not. It's nothing like what it was.
That.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got my start. And then, I just kept writing, and I started writing for, this little magazine, that little magazine, and then I'd get a little piece in Field and Stream and a bigger article in Outdoor Life. And then I was invited to be the back page columnist for Inside Archery, which is a trade magazine in the archery industry. And I was the back page columnist for Inside Archery for about 6 years. And I did that. And then, other people started noticing me, and it just kind of kept
snowballing.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got here.
And I've read some of those articles that you wrote for the Bow Hunter magazines. And you can definitely write for sure.
Well, thank you.
And just watching you, like when you do your review videos or your technique videos, the way you carry yourself, the way you explain things, is you do it very good.
Well, thank you.
You definitely got that down for sure, 100%.
And it helps too that later on, I kind of transitioned my career into teaching. I taught at a Division I university at a college there in town. I taught there for about 4 or 5 years, and then I transitioned eventually. I'm in corporate sales, so I'm constantly doing presentations in front of hundreds of people a month, and so it really helps that background lends itself to being able to explain something or whatever. So it all tied in to really bring me to where I am today.
Got you. Yeah, and you started out like a lot of people you hear about when you ask them, well, how'd you get into hunting? It's a lot of the similar stories. And one thing I notice when I hear these stories of how people got into it or whatever, it's like some of that stuff I feel like is dying off. You know what I mean? Kids these days, they don't know what it's like to go frog gigging. You know what I'm saying? And it's and they have no desire to do it. I feel like, you know what I mean?
It's honestly, Troy, it's really sad. It is, because I mean I think that upbringing, that childhood is second to none.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for. I'm so glad we grew. I mean, as much time as I spend on my phone now, playing on Facebook and everything else, I wouldn't trade that childhood for nothing. I'm
100%.
so glad we didn't have digital media.
Thank goodness.
Growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It consumes you. And I when my kids were younger, and I used to be like, man, you could just tell it would be consuming them or whatever. And it would just bother me. And so I'd be on their butts about it.
Yeah.
You know? Now I'm the one that's consumed all the time. You know, there's always something going on. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. Yeah. But what about, so I've really been wanting to get into your brain. What's your, if you're gonna explain to somebody like who wants to get into trapping, the first stages of it? You know, we don't have to go a lot of detail into it because there's so much I want to talk to you about.
Well, yeah, and trapping can be as deep a subject as you want, right?
Yeah.
It's so I love the fact that a lot of people, Jim Shockey, Fred Eichler, Tom Miranda, some of these names that are really known in the bow hunting world for completing the Super Slam and things like that, they got their start in trapping. A lot of people don't realize Fred Eichler was a trapper before he was a hunter. Jim Shockey, Tom Miranda, all these people. So it really, if you're looking, there's two or three, there's a myriad or multiple reasons why trapping is good. But from a basic standpoint, if you want to be a better outdoorsman, a better woodsman, a better bow hunter, a better deer hunter in general, trapping is a fantastic foundation because it teaches you so much about paying attention to detail, learning the animal, studying what the animal's doing, and not necessarily doing what you want to do. And that's one of the biggest things that we do as a deer hunter, right? We go to where we expect the deer to be, instead of let the deer tell us where to be. Which is why mobile hunting is starting to take over now, right? It's because so many, and I had a conversation last week, and we'll get back to trapping here in a second, but I had a conversation with a guy last week at somewhere. He was recognizing me at a show or something, and he was like, well, I don't want to really get into this mobile hunting, saddle hunting thing, whatever, because I've got private land that I hunt. I'm like, so tell me what difference is that? He goes, well, I've got a bunch of stands everywhere. I'm like, do you move them? Do you follow the deer? He's like, well, they're already established stands. I'm like, the best thing you can do is go hunt where those stands are not.
Yes.
Because those deer have those stands patterned better than you've got the deer pattern. I guarantee you.
Yep.
And I always come back to that story. I need to memorize the guy's name. It was a young gentleman. I actually spent some time talking to him. He killed the largest buck in Iowa, and I think it was the largest non-typical, and it may still be in the top 2 or 3. His name started with an L. It was a muzzleloader kill. He was up in Iowa, and he was visiting a lease with some friends, and they had their 4 or 5 stand A, B, C, D, right? And they locked in, and this guy shows up, and they're like, oh. I mean, kind of a look down your nose, side of your nose, disdainful, like, go over here. And he killed that monster buck because they were all the stands that had been there. They'd hunted them for years. And that
I know that story. Exactly what you're talking about.
And the monster buck knew where not to go, and they stuck him off in Timbuktu, you know. And
he killed the hammer.
He killed the hammer, right? But you learn that as a trapper. That story, a lot of bow hunters, a lot of deer hunters are like, they haven't heard that. What we just said makes so much sense to you and me.
Yeah.
And the majority of our listeners, it makes so much sense to. There's a lot of people that go, oh, it's like a light bulb just went off when I tell that story, right? Trappers, it's instantaneous because the number one thing you'll hear as a trapper is set on sign. Go study the land. If you're going to set a farm for coyotes, go look for coyote tracks. Go look for coyote scat. Find a pile of poop. That's where the coyote's been. Find tracks up and down a dirt road. That's where he's walking. That's where you need to set your traps.
Yeah.
And so it's very analogous to deer hunting. Is like, hunt where the deer are, not where you think they should be.
Right.
And there's a complete difference, right?
Yes.
And so trapping, you learn to set on sign, look for study the animal. And I can't tell you how many books. Bobcat's my favorite thing to trap. I love coyote. Bobcat turns me on. I cannot tell you how many books I've got at my house of just studying bobcat mannerisms, bobcat habits, bobcat terrain. What does a bobcat eat? What's his gestation or her gestation cycle? How often do they make a loop in the territory? You start studying the animal, and that's the kind of stuff that can transition to other things like that. But yeah, trapping is so cool because it teaches you to be a woodsman. It teaches you to respect the animal so much. And I get that there's some, especially in social media and thing, there's immediate kind of like, oh my God, he's so inhumane, he's a trapper, right? And we can touch on that as much. If people want to follow this up in the comments later on, I'll come back to this and answer as many questions as you want. But trapping is an extremely humane sport. Just because you see on video that an animal's going wild when you walk up to it doesn't mean that you're overstressing it out. Trapping is probably the #1 mechanism or method that biologists use to control the predator-prey population. And it's one of the few things that a trapper can do as a catch and release with a wild animal. We can do it with fish. You can't do it with animals. You can't take I mean, there was a time that I remember one time I rattled in a buck. He got me super excited. He looked huge from the stand, and I released that arrow. And the second I released that arrow, I wish I could take it back because I realized, like, he got me super excited. My adrenaline was pumping. Am I embarrassed about the animal? No, but I wish I could have taken that arrow back because he was not what I wanted at the time. There's no do-overs in bow hunting.
Once you make that decision, that's the decision.
He ran 30 yards and he was gone. With trapping, I trap a lot of farms in southeast Missouri, and one of the things I tell a landowner is, like, if you really want red fox gone, if I'm doing a nuisance job or something like that, if they don't tell me, I just won't say anything. But if a specific landowner really wants, they've got a chicken coop or fawns or sheep or something like that, and they really want red fox gone, I'll do it for them. But by and large, 99% of the farms I trap, if I catch a red fox or a gray fox, I release them because there's not very many of them. And as a good steward or a good conservationist, I'm going to do my part to encourage them to proliferate and breed and to get more of them, because coyotes and red foxes are a mortal enemy, and a coyote will chase down a red fox and kill it all day long. And as we deplete our fields and everything of cover, there's not as many places for them to hide, and the coyote will just run them down and kill them, just like a wolf does.
I never even thought about that with the red foxes.
So it's cool is because my trap, all it does is it's like a handcuff. If a cop catches a bad guy and puts him in handcuffs, yeah, they're going to be stressed a little bit. Well, it's the same way when as soon as a coyote gets caught, they're like, oh, crap, and you'll see them jump around. But I run videos. In fact, you go to Staggs and Waller, you'll see a lot of video footage of me trapping and the animals I trap, and they will immediately jump around because they're surprised, but then they settle down. And I cannot tell you, Troy, how many animals I roll up to the next morning that are asleep in my traps. That as soon as that initial shock wears off, they're like, oh crap, I'm here for a little bit, and they calm down and they're fine. And then I roll up to them.
Hurting
they're not hurting at all. They're just being held.
And
that's the difference. And so modern trappers, we use what's called laminations, where we actually have thicker jaws. And the easy way to explain that is if I take a butter knife, and if I turn it on its edge and I slap my wrist with it really hard, if it's on its edge, it's going to hurt. Even though it's a butter knife, it's going to hurt just me slapping it down. If I turn that butter knife sideways, where the full weight of the force is distributed across, and it's the sheer shock is dissipated across a broader area, that's what jaw laminations do. And modern trappers, by and large, run jaw laminations on all of our traps. I also multiple swivels. So I've got a video of me in Kansas on a trapping trip, and I roll up on a coyote, and it starts freaking out because it sees a human coming up, and it starts flipping and flopping. There was 0 paw damage, 0 joint damage. In fact, I showed it in that video because there's multiple swivels. So the combination of laminations and swivels makes modern trapping a very humane thing.
Nice. So when do you decide on, I guess it depends on what you're trapping, on what traps you're actually going to use.
Yeah, so I've learned to specialize. I run a specific trap for coyotes. It's a no BS junior or a no BS trap, and it's a KO junior. And I run that trap for coyotes. It's about a 4.5 inch, 5 inch trap, something like that. But it's a coil spring, and by and large, I'm burying it into the ground and then covering it up and leaving just a very fine layer of silt or dirt across the pan, so that when they depress the pan, then the jaws of the trap come up and capture the paw. And we use a lot of attractants to get that animal to position. It's the coolest thing. There's so much pride and accomplishment in getting a wild animal that can roam a million different acres to go wherever he wants to. And I have the sense of accomplishment that I got that animal to step in a 1 inch square spot wherever I want him to. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty amazing.
And so we use different attractors. We'll use a dirt hole, and you're replicating a shrew or a mouse where a coyote is dug up, something like that, and we'll kind of make a trench or even just a hole, and we're positioning the trap behind that hole so that when he comes up and sticks his snout down there to smell down there, he's placing his foot right where we want it to. And then we'll use subtle rocks and maybe a stick or two guide, and we call that guiding, where an animal doesn't want to step on a rock. He doesn't want to step on a stick that's sticking straight up, where I'll actually stick it up. He'll go to the smooth spot of the pattern of the trap. And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes we'll use, like, I'll drive a T-bone, which is a cow's vertebrae in, and that bone out there he's a canine. He's a dog. It's a bone. He wants to smell it and play with it. Right. And so I'll block off certain aspects or areas of his approach to get him to come around to where the trap is. So it's really subtle, but it's a lot of fun. And but we use coil springs in that pursuit or that mechanism, that method, there you go. But I found that coil springs are really prone to freezing down. Now, there's things you can do. You can put waxed dirt, you can use peat moss, you can do antifreeze, you can do a lot of things with it. But if I use a double long spring, and a double long spring is what you traditionally think of when you think of the old time trapping, you see these springs going way out to the side. I use those for my cat trapping because all the action is up above, and a trap can be completely frozen solid to the ground if you get freeze-thaw conditions in January, which is the breeding season of bobcats. If the trap is completely frozen down, and a bobcat doesn't care about seeing the trap. Now, if a coyote sees the trap, they're like, they'll start digging at it a little bit. You kind of need to hide it and cover it with dirt and everything. You can have we call it an exposed pan walkthrough or exposed pan trap for bobcats. I will literally put a shingle on the trap and make it look like a rock, and he'll just put his foot right there, and I got him. Yeah. So there's different traps that we use for different animals. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now, do you use, like, I've seen where they have the feather,
I do,
the mechanical feather or whatever that's blowing around.
So I use a piece of fishing line with the biggest swivel I can buy at Bass Pro or Walmart, and I don't care what size it is. I just want the biggest swivel I can find. And then I will drop a big egg sinker that will slip down and rest on top of that swivel. That egg sinker is going to keep the feather down underneath the limb I tie it on. But then I'll tie a 3 or 4 or 5 inch piece of monofilament line from the swivel to my feather, and the wind, it'll just take it and whirl it and spin it.
Gets their attention.
And, oh gosh, because cats feed. That's another thing. Again, studying the animal, right? Coyotes feed mostly with their nose and their sense. A coyote can smell so much better than a dog, and so a typical dog. I mean, you might go with a bloodhound or something like that, but you think of the best smelling dog, that's basically where a coyote is at all the time. Yeah. And so they feed with their nose all the time. Bobcats, their eyes are forward, their face is flat, and so they're feeding visually a lot. So they're looking for, and bobcats love turkeys. They will follow a turkey around and just pick off a flock, one bird at a time.
No kidding.
Just feed, and they're such an efficient predator, but they love turkeys. So when we've been very fortunate, we've got very good at turkey hunting, and so now I save all my turkey feathers. I mean, I've got Ziploc. I have 2-gallon bags, and they're just full of turkey feathers. I probably got 30 or 40 of them in my shop.
Yeah, and but it makes sense because I know you love them bobcats. So why not use one of their favorite things?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't take a whole lot, just a handful sprinkled turkey feathers. And man, if it's just because they get stuck. If you use the fuzzy breast feathers and the back feathers, they get stuck on all the grass around the set. And man, a bobcat will pick it out, especially with that flagging, that a duck wing or a turkey feather or something spinning.
Now, is there any? It seems like I don't know if somebody was messing with me, if it was true, but they were saying they put out CDs.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So again, we're in Missouri. We as trappers in Missouri are allowed to use bait like natural things like feathers or wings, because now my youngest son Gabe has got into duck hunting, and so when he comes home with 4 or 5 ducks, I'm like, hey, clip those wings off and save them for me.
Yeah.
And I would literally tie a whole wing, a duck, like a mallard wing or a woody wing or something like that, and man, it'll just sit there and flutter and everything. But to your point, there are states out there that do not allow natural feathers, natural anything like that, so they have to use tinsel or a CD, or so they'll do the same thing, but they'll tie a CD attention. And that CD will spin in the
got you.
Yeah,
so they weren't jacking with me.
No, they weren't. And it's a necessity for those guys because they can't use natural feathers.
Makes sense. I see it. Now, I watched one of your videos a while back, and you had trapped a skunk.
Yeah.
Have you ever been sprayed?
Very much. many times.
Much,
yeah, very much so. Our first time. If you watch that video is actually one of the most watched videos on my channel.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like 300 and
Well, I think you're explaining how to release the skunk put the skunk down without...
How to dispatch it without spraying.
Yeah.
And we learned that very much through education and experience.
Yes.
If you get on trapping forums and the boards and Facebook groups and things like that, it's inevitable. You'll have somebody, it's once every couple days, someone will go, hey, I caught a skunk. What's the best way to put it down without spraying? And usually there's 3 answers. Usually 90% of the answers are one of the 2. Shoot it in the head and it won't spray because it'll instantly make its nervous system go out. Bull.
You said bull. That's not true.
That's about a 50-50 chance at best.
Gotcha.
Okay. The problem is people have done that and they've got lucky on the 50-50 side, right? And they've only done it once or twice. Maybe they're not a hardcore trapper. They've only caught 2 or 3 skunks and the odds were in their favor, and they swear that shooting a skunk in the head is the ideal method.
Right.
You shoot enough skunks in the head, it's like shoot enough turkeys, shoot enough deer, once your experience ramps up, the odds are going to start evening out.
Yeah.
And no, you got about 50-50 chance at best, okay? Then there's another contingent or another sect of people, and they're like, shoot them in the heart. If you shoot them in the heart, they won't spray. Same deal. About a 50-50 chance.
Sometimes they will, sometimes they
will, sometimes they won't. The absolute best, and that's what my video shows how to create, how to make, and how to do it, because I actually do it on film, is to get a big hypodermic needle like you were going to vaccinate a hog or a cow. I bought mine from Tractor Supply Company, and then I've got it attached to like a chimney pole, like you'd clean a chimney for.
Yep.
And you fill it with acetone and you inject it into their lungs.
Yep.
And it is absolutely humane. I've been attacked. People go, oh, it's not humane. Dude, they go out in like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And they do this. The one
I actually watched that video, and you actually do it.
Yeah, I do it on video, and the skunk instantly out.
Yeah.
And it's just it's the same argument people are going to make for humans with lethal injection when you got a rapist or whatever, and we've decided as a society that we need to put that person down by lethal injection. And you got all these contingent of people showing up and going, oh, it's not humane. Dude, he didn't even feel it. He's
going
out.
to sleep.
He's going to sleep.
That's it.
It's the same way as a skunk.
Yeah.
Is they go to sleep, they don't spray. And so is absolutely. In fact, in that video, at the end of that video, I'm literally holding that skunk up, cuddling with it because he did not.
And it was
spray.
a beautiful skunk.
It's beautiful. He's on my wall.
Yeah.
He's beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So basically, you got to find out where they're at. Look for where they're moving, where they're traveling, and all that stuff.
Yep.
Learn whichever the animal is that you're trapping. Learn that animal, their behavior, what they like, what they want to smell, what they want to eat, all that stuff. And then figure out what trap works best for them. and away you go. Start doing it.
Yeah, and you know, you've got trap prep, you've got how to bed the trap, you've got different scents you can use. I mean, like I said, you can go down this rabbit hole
Yeah,
as far
I
as
say
you
there's
want.
probably just tons of.
The best thing to do, get on my channel if you're watching this. Go, I've got videos on how to prep your trap, how to assemble the trap with an earth anchor, how to drive that earth anchor down, how to stake your trap down so the animal, you don't lose animal with a trap on your foot.
Yeah.
How to pull that trap out. You know, and move it to a new spot. What kind of scents to use? What kind of I think I've got a video called 7 sets that work for us, and it's my favorite set, 7 sets, and I show in detail how to build each set, how to catch coyotes. So the best thing to do is go, because when I started, we didn't really have. YouTube wasn't as big a deal. It probably was. I just wasn't aware of it.
Yeah.
And so I actually had a local mentor. He was a taxidermist and probably one of the best taxidermists in the world. And so this guy was incredible. And there's not a lot of taxidermists who can do predators. That they mess up the ears, they mess up the face,
The eyes.
the eyes.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to mount a predator. And this guy understood that. So what he did is he taught himself how to trap. And so then he would catch a coyote, he would catch a fox, he would catch a bobcat, and he would literally just sit down. He told me this. He'd just sit down right outside the catch circle. And the catch circle is the animal is going to burn a circle in while he's in the trap, while he's trying to get away, right? And before he figures out, I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that animal can go as far as the trap chain will allow him to go. And he would sit just outside the catch circle and just watch. Just study the mannerisms, how the ears worked, where the ears were positioned on the head in relation to the eye. And he was an incredible trapper and taxidermist. And so that's the guy who taught me how to trap. One-on-one, personally, mentoring me. I took a lot of stuff from it. And then later on, I started, you know...
And that's priceless.
You start picking up other things like that. Today, it was priceless, Troy. But the cool thing is you don't have... Because there's not a lot of people that... Well, I take that back. There was a time in trapping where that was really hard to come by. Because back in the fur boom, when a coyote hide was worth $100, $150, people didn't want to really give away their secrets because they were going out and buying a new Ford F-150 with their trapping money.
Yeah.
Well, then when, you know, liberalism and PETA and Hollywood wackos and then the decline of the ruble, there's so many factors that factor into why the fur boom diminished and went away and why the market fell off. But then people became more and more willing to share because they just wanted to preserve tradition and preserve our heritage, which is kind of why I still continue to trap. There's 2 reasons, and this probably, we definitely need to cover this before we move on to any other subject. One is the heritage. That's the big thing. You know, we talked about not having our kids on a screen and just doing their thumbs like this all day. I wanted my kids outdoors. It's a great way to trapping is a fantastic way to introduce your kids into the outdoors because when you're making sets, when you're putting a trap line in, even if it's a small line with 6 traps, they can talk as much as they want to. You can be sitting there side by side, digging out a trap bed, putting in a dirt hole, luring it up, covering up the trap, and your kid can just be sitting there, just be as loud as he wants to. Talk all you want to, because it's going to take a night or 2 before everything settles down, the scent dissipates enough that an animal's probably going to... We catch more of our animals on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th nights.
Got you.
Rarely... Yeah, I know you're going to have your trapper, and someone hit me up in the comments. I catch a lot of stuff for the first night. Okay, great.
You can.
You can. But most of it's going to come the 2nd, 3rd, 4th night. And that
makes sense.
And then the cool thing about it is we say trapping's like Christmas. You never know what you're going to get. You walk. It could be a skunk, but more than I use a lot of gland lures as opposed to baits. And I've learned this over the years, so I minimize my non-target catches. I don't catch a lot of possums and skunks and things like that by using gland lures. You're still going to have some every once in a while because sometimes you just got to weed out the trash before you get to the good stuff. You just have to.
Yeah.
But by and large, you can kind of control your target species there. But it's so cool taking a kid because they can be as loud as they want to. And then when you go back to run the trap line, they can be as loud as they want to again. But then when you do have a coyote or a bobcat or a fox waiting on you, dude, it's so cool because they get to walk up. How many kids walk up within 5 foot of a coyote that's hissing and snarling and growling? And now, obviously, as a dad, you know, I get it. We're going to get to people commenting on it. As a dad, I want to make sure he's got a full pad capture, right? I want to make sure he's in there good. If it's if he's toe caught, and I think there's a chance he's going to lunge and pull out, well, yeah, we're going to dispatch him, and then we'll look at him, right? But if it's a full pad capture and that cat or that coyote's not going anywhere, hey, come up here, stand right here, and you can look at him for as long as you want.
And not many get that opportunity.
There's not many. It's so cool.
My oldest son and I, my broadside camel partner Brandon. I think you've met him.
Yeah.
He's got three young kids, and the youngest boy Coulter. I think he's really wanting to get him into seeing stuff like that. He bought a place out in the country now. He's got chickens and goats and all this. So when we were up in. Actually, I think it was at the Show Me Whitetail show here.
Okay.
He actually bought I think it was like a trap for a raccoon.
Oh, it's probably a dog proof.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a little cylinder.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And we were talking to somebody, and they were like, start with that.
Yes.
You know, and I think that'll get your kids involved for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, dude. You can go out and slap in a dozen dog proofs in an hour or less and drop some cat food or dog food or game fish. I actually go to my local farmers co-op and buy game fish food, like for a catfish, like you throw in a pond and it floats. I use that because it's kind of got a little bit of a different smell to it. But you can you go buy dry cat food at Dollar General for $4.
Yeah.
And a bag of that would work just fine. Marshmallows, whatever. Because we're so overran with raccoons in most areas, and that's the second thing. So let's get back to that. So first is heritage, introducing your kids to the outdoors.
Yep.
The second thing is what we're about to talk about now is predator control, because a lot of people realize it doesn't take long to get on any forum and start talking about turkeys and the decline of the turkey population, and people can attribute it to two different things. One is loss of habitat. A lot of people love to say it's loss of habitat. Well, I'll tell you what. Everywhere I've turkey hunted, we talked about me going to Kansas for the last 20 years turkey hunting. There is zero loss of habitat where I turkey hunt. Zero. But yet the turkey flock has plummeted. Diminished.
Yeah.
Like they have lowered it. I used to, when I went out there, my boys, I have two boys, Matthew and Gabriel. Matthew and Gabriel would each kill 3 turkeys each, and I could kill 2. I'm sorry, it's Nebraska had 3. Kansas, you could kill 2. So Matthew would kill 2, Gabriel would kill 2, I'd kill 2. We'd come out with 6 turkeys.
Yeah.
Then about 3 or 4 years ago, they took the limit from 2 to 1. So now you went from 6 to 3. And I actually applauded the move. I actually had a game warden that I talked to while I was out there. He was just doing a routine check. Everything was fine. And I'm like, dude, thank you guys for lowering the limit. And now I realized that, and we didn't kill 6 all the time. And so someone's going to say, well, you could take it upon yourself and be responsible and not have to kill 6, right? And we didn't kill 6 all the time. But I actually told him, I'm like, thank you. I said, that was a smart move. He goes, dude, you're like one of the few people that have said, I'm like, we're losing turkeys bad out here. And so a lot of people say it's loss of habitat. There was no habitat loss out there. So the other thing that is really affecting turkeys, and this is what I think 95% of it is predator populations.
Yeah.
Because no one's trapping, because the fur's not worth it, and it's hard, and you don't have people teaching others how to do it.
Facts.
So no one's controlling, especially nest raiding predators.
Yeah.
Your skunks, raccoons, armadillos to an extent, and do your research. They do affect turkey nests, but skunks, raccoons, and opossums are the big
I was
3.
just reading about possums and how they'll eat them turkey eggs.
They eat them like the dude. If a possum finds a turkey nest, he'll destroy the whole nest.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny because if you, I don't know, some people may call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I think there's so many things that wrap back around and lend itself to the demise of hunting in general, and the normal common guy, and especially these liberal wacko groups that want to remove hunting from the world, especially the United States. And they got on this kick, and I think there was a reason for it. I think it was very much intentional, is they started promoting this tick-eating opossum. I'm sure you've seen it on Facebook somewhere, is that a possum can eat 5,000 ticks in a year, right?
Yeah.
And
And dude, I've debunked that. I've got a whole article I put up. I'm going to make a video about it soon on my YouTube channel.
Because I've been under the understanding they eat the crap out of ticks.
They don't.
They do not.
They do not. They will eat ticks off themselves if they're grooming themselves like a cat or a deer, but they do not walk around hoovering up like a vacuum cleaner ticks. What they do is they'll eat turkey eggs like crazy and destroy the chance for the turkeys to brood to repopulate, right? If you walk, what do turkeys do though? You ever watch a turkey walk through a field or the edge of the woods? Dude, they're constantly. And most of what they're eating is little ticks and bugs and stuff like that. A turkey can, and I've did the math, and I'm going to make a video of it. I don't remember the number I use. A turkey can easily eat 50 ticks a day. If you have a clutch of 10 just for easy figuring, if that clutch is 10, they eat 50 a day, that's 500. And then, so 500
They're eating a whole lot more than them possums are.
Way more than that possum. And so yeah, if you kill a possum and save a turkey nest, you're doing wonders. Way ahead. Yeah. Way ahead. So I think that is very much an intentional design to kind of put out there that, save the possum because they're doing something. No. Yeah. Save the turkey. The turkey is helping with the ticks, right? Way more than a possum. Way more than
that possum.
Yeah,
that's some good info right there.
I'm killing every possum that gets in my trap
for sure.
100%.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like I said, I've heard that for years that possums eat them ticks like that.
So yeah, trappers are really helping it. They can do it so much good with helping out with raccoon control, and raccoons are showing up in huge numbers and even bigger than normal because what people love to do now as deer hunters over the last 10 years or so, put up feeders, right?
Yeah.
I've got a guy who lets me trap his farm in Kansas.
Are getting fat.
They're getting fat and they're getting numerous. So I've got a buddy who'll send me. He loves to run feeders in Kansas, and he's got thousands of acres, and he runs multiple feeders. And he'll send me pictures, trail cam pictures. It'll have 15 or 20 raccoons in it, in one trail camera picture. And so I'm like, how many turkey nests is that? Yeah. And people are like, why are turkeys going backwards? There you go.
100%. And we've put out in certain spots, just put some corn out in the camera just to see what we get on film out there, and it'll be 1,000, not 1,000, but it'll be majority is raccoons.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
They're everywhere
because the fur,
and they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, in the 80s, a raccoon was worth $50 or $60. Yeah, and people go hunting with coon hound. When's the last time you heard of anybody going coon hunting?
Never
with dogs.
Not in years.
Yeah, I mean it's done as kind of a novelty. Like someone will go take an electronic call and call them kind of to make a YouTube video or something, and it's shooting them like a predator calling. It's a novelty thing, dude. My uncle growing up, I remember in the 80s, my uncle had Grand Champion coon dogs, and they were selling for $2,000 a piece.
That was a big deal, man.
It was a big deal because you could make your money back on a coon dog by going and getting the raccoons.
Coons,
and dude, they're not even. I hate to say it, they're not even worth skinning nowadays.
Isn't that crazy?
$2, maybe.
Yeah,
and that's after skinning it, fleshing it, boarding it, flipping it, combing it out, and selling it to a fur buyer. You might get $2. Dude, I'm like, it's
so people
they quit.
Like, quit doing it.
They quit.
There's nothing in it for them.
Yeah, but it's still. Here's the key message. It's still worth doing from a predator control standpoint. Right. If you want, and again, we go back to that argument.
Especially if you have your own property and you're trying to manage your property, this is definitely good information you need to be picking up on.
Exactly what I was going to say. You have that dichotomy. You have those two opposing groups of people. They're like, it's loss of habitat, it's predator control. And then the people that say loss of habitat, they're like, well, that they don't believe in the predator control. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the farms that I have trapped and been contracted to go just eliminate as many nest raiding animals as I had, their turkey population exploded in the years following.
Yeah.
I'm like, you cannot tell me if I take 20 or 30 raccoons off a property in a year's time and 10 or 15 possums and a couple skunks, dude, that the turkeys just explode.
Yes.
And so it is 100% predator control is so important. That's why we got to have trapping as a biological wildlife management tool to help out with the other animals.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. That makes 100% truth. And definitely, I'm gonna dive more into it, and I'm planning on going to your channel and watching a lot of your videos. Staggs in the Wild on YouTube.
Yep.
check it out. There's a lot of videos on trapping and whatnot there. There's some really good information. There's a lot of videos on a lot of hunting things.
Yeah, a lot of everything, man.
But there are definitely some good trapping videos and some good information on
Yeah,
that.
and we're going to actually focus more and more on trapping. It's actually it drives my algorithm off the charts when we do trapping stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I do a ton of like bow hunting stuff and turkey hunting stuff. I drop a trapping video, boom, it just goes off.
Skyrockets.
So it is one of the things, as we talked about retirement and everything. My last big purchase before I quit my job is I'm going to buy a really nice HVAC enabled side by side with a heater and everything. And my wife, she went with me this Christmas and filmed some little YouTube shorts and Facebook reels for trapping. And dude, they just blew up.
I can imagine.
And I'm like, okay, this is as I walk away from corporate America. She's already said, that was fun. I can go film you, and she can ride around in a heated little side by side. And so,
as long as Mama's comfortable.
Exactly. And so that's our plan. Is in the future, if you're like, well, I've seen all of his trapping videos, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, because it will go more and more that way. We're going to do a lot more trapping stuff in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to that, man.
Yeah.
You definitely do a good job on all your videos.
Thanks,
so
man. I appreciate
all the information. But now let's dive off and get into some deer hunting talk, maybe.
Yeah.
And I know, so you mentioned earlier that buck I want to talk to you about. You killed him on private land.
Yeah.
But I also know you are a public land guru.
Dude, I still hunt a lot.
I feel like
public.
you know your stuff.
Yeah.
And so just touch on that, a couple things to touch on that, just public land hunting in general. Then we'll get into the buck you killed.
Yeah.
But so when because I know you were last year or maybe the year before you started doing that
the mobile hunt project?
Yes, dude. I think that's so cool.
I'm doing that again this year. So if you guys don't know what the mobile hunt project was, it was literally a brainstorm. We all there's not. Someone said once that nothing new has ever been invented under the sun. We're all borrowing ideas that have already been regurgitated, right? And I'm sure people have done this, but I did not, I promise, I did not steal this idea from someone else. I was laying in bed one night, and I was just trying to, I was thinking of content ideas, and I was thinking about stuff, and I'm like, what if, because I travel for my job, right, all the time. Like, I'm making a sales call tomorrow real close to here. That's what enabled me to come here and be in your studio today. But I drove 5 hours to get here, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what if I put a map of where I'm going to drive tomorrow or next week or whatever, and I say, hey, starting point is here, close to my house. Next time, I'm going to Little Rock, Arkansas, and point A, point B. And I can either take this route or that route, because MapQuest or Google will give you a couple different choices. You pick a WMA, a wildlife management area, somewhere along that route, and tell me. You pick it and tell me where you want me to hunt. If you want to blow it up on X or something, say, hey, I want you to check out that ridge or this spot or whatever, or just leave it open and you just pick the WMA and then I go figure it out. But I had so many people that messaged me, dude. I've still got 300 messages. I haven't. I've read them, but I haven't been able to go through them. I don't even know if I'm going to do the map thing again this year, because I've got so many left over from 2 years ago that I did. But I had so many people reach out and go, dude, I've been trying to kill a buck on this property for so long. I know he's there. I've got pictures. There's sign. I'd love to see what you can do with it. Or, I mean, there was some variation of that. I had so many people. So, what I did was I filmed a couple episodes where I literally just got in the car, pulled in, and what I did was I never told the WMA. I didn't tell where I was going because I didn't want to burn anybody's spot, right? And I was very conscientious about not showing landmark trees. You'll see as I walk into some of these WMAs that are on that channel, on that video, I'm literally showing my feet walking through a stream, but it's literally I'm pointing at the ground.
Because you ain't giving no hints.
I'm not giving anything away. And one of the spots was, this guy's like, hey, don't burn it. Literally, I had a few people reach out and say, hey, I'm going to tell you about this spot. I want you to go try it, but don't burn me, man, because if my friends knew that I was telling you about this spot, they would like disown me. And I'm like, I promise, I won't give you away, man. And I won't give the spot away. And they weren't all just trying to say, hey, go to this spot because I know you can kill a deer. Most of them were saying, go here because I don't think you can kill a deer.
Right. Yeah.
Which I thought was just as good. Yeah. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I even talk about that in that video. I'm like, hey, I'm going to film me scouting because I actually film me walking in, finding rubs, finding sign, finding trail, all the things I look for. You can see me checking the wind with floaters, with milkweed floaters, everything. And I'm working my way back around from the downwind side. Everything that I do in a hunt, I did it for the camera. And I'm like, hey, you may watch this and go, if you scream at the TV screen or the computer monitor and go, you moron, you should have been hunting there. Great. That's what I want that interaction.
Yes.
And dude, they turned out to be really, really good hunts. The one hunt there, I hung up on this edge. It was a hardwood thicket on one side and really thick, dense CRP chock full of briars behind me. And it was that edge. I'm big on that edge within an edge. I've talked about that on a lot of podcasts and videos and things. I don't want that exterior edge, like where a cotton field or a cornfield or a soybean or whatever runs into the woods. That's an outer edge where the field meets
like those interior.
I want the inside edge.
Yes.
I want to walk into the woods and find another edge inside the woods where a laurel overgrowth thicket or honeysuckle, or it transitions from oaks to pine, or maybe years ago there was a fence row down there, or they clear cut it and
it's just some kind of divide,
some kind of a hard edge inside the woods is what I'm looking for. And dude, it never fails when I find that. And a lot of times you can't see them on X. A lot of times you've got to put boots on the ground, but you will find it. There will be some old where they did a clear cut and there was old growth for new growth or something there. And once you find that edge, it never fails. I've just quit doing videos on it. I used to do YouTube shorts and Facebook reels all the time about, hey, I found this edge. I've walked 10 yards, there's a scrape. I've walked 15 yards, there's a rub. And you just keep going down that edge and it's rub, scrape, rub. And it's like they just migrate to those. So that's, if people go, what's your secret on public land? I just gave it. And there's probably going to be a lot of people
I was just getting, as you're talking, I'm
Yeah.
thinking back to yesterday.
Yeah.
Me and my wife went out and took a few pictures for Broadside.
Yeah.
And we're in the woods, and she was over here getting, putting on her clothes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I walked over here and we're just kind of walking through. And I went through this area that I hadn't been through before on this property. And I hadn't been through there in several years anyway.
Right.
And as I'm walking through, I'm like, wow, that's a scrape right there.
Yeah.
And then a little bit further, I was like, wait, there's another scrape right here. I actually found 3 scrapes. And as you're talking, it just clicked. They were all on edges.
Yep.
All 3 of those were on a different edge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's exactly what it, because I've even wondered before, what's he talking? Because I've heard you say that for years, you like edges, hardcore edges. And so.
But edge within an edge.
Within an edge.
Yeah.
And I have looked at a property and go, well, that's an edge right there where the cotton meets the timber. That's not what you're talking about.
No.
You're talking about inside the woods.
You will kill them on the outer edge, but it's usually does an hour before dark.
Yep, 100%.
And trust me, I've hunted those 150 times, or probably 1,050 times, because those are the good places to go kill a doe, put meat in the freezer, as we talked about at the beginning of this podcast. Love those, right? Yep. And there are also places because when you're on the interior of an edge, right? A lot of times you're not going to see the numbers of deer. You're not going to see the quantity. You will see quality, but not quantity.
Right.
And even Dan Infalt talks about it some, is that sometimes you're going in so deep, you may not see a deer for a week. Right. And then sometimes you got to back out to that outer edge just so you can see 300 yards down the fence row and the field edge and go, okay, there's a deer popped out there. There's a deer. And it made you feel good because you saw 7 deer that night. Right. And you go home and you tell all your buddies, I saw 7 tonight. Well, they were 400 yards down the road, but I saw 7. Right. And so sometimes you got to do that. And I've got a buddy that I'm kind of mentoring down in Mississippi, a younger guy, and he grew up hunting over bait and doing a lot of stuff like that. I'm trying to get him into mobile hunting and don't hunt over bait and all this stuff. And he gets frustrated sometimes. I'm like, okay, back out. Go see some deer, make yourself feel better.
Right.
You just, I get it.
Because it does get, I'll get in my own head if I'm hunting a spot that I know there's deer around there and I'm not seeing deer and stuff. It'll kind of wear on you after a minute. But like you said, go somewhere you see some deer.
Yeah.
cheer
and then,
yourself up, and then go back.
and then go back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was I was gonna ask, what are the, which I love that what you did with that mobile hunting experience.
I'm doing it again this year.
Yeah, I
100%.
love it.
Man.
I've actually, so my oldest son, I talked about him. I have a middle son named Chase, and he's a bow hunter as well. But we've been talking about, and I think we're gonna do it this year, where we just pick a WMA on a map that none of us have ever been to. We'll go there, say on a Thursday.
Yep.
We'll spend the weekend in that area.
Yeah.
Basically, we're gonna throw $50 in the pot.
Yeah.
We're gonna hunt Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You do it however you want.
Right.
If you want to scout all day Friday and you want to hunt Saturday, Sunday, you want to hunt Friday, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
By a certain time on Sunday, whoever has the biggest deer, not it doesn't have to be a buck. It could be a big old nanny doe.
Yeah.
Whoever has the biggest wins the pot.
That'd be awesome.
I think it'd be a great time. You know what I mean? And when I started thinking about that, now that I'm thinking about it, was I think because I seen your mobile hunting quest, and I'm like, dude, that is so cool, man. I said, why couldn't we do something like that?
Yeah.
Not as extreme, obviously, but just to do it,
Well, I've kind of done that concept for years because I've been in outside sales. I travel, I'm spend the night in different cities every night of the week. And so a lot of times when I'm traveling, if I'm going to get my hunts in a year time, I'm traveling with my bow hunting equipment. In the back of my car is my pack, my bow, my boots, and a little bag of camo clothes. And usually a small little cooler in case I kill one, I'll cord him up, debone him, and get him out. And, so I got all that. I travel with that all the time. So a lot of times if I'm going to, let's say, I'm going to Memphis or whatever, and I realize that, hey, I'm going to get there about 9 o'clock at night or so, I'll just stop somewhere about 3/4 of the way down, find a WMA, go in and hunt it till it gets dark, and then I'll go on and then spend the night, And
That's
so I do that all the time, all the time. But the twist on it was, okay, you pick it.
Yeah.
You tell me where to go.
Super cool, man. Yeah. I like that a lot. So, and you've kind of touched on it. So when you go into a new piece, what is the first things you're looking for?
I want to get past the, you're looking for the inside corners, all that stuff on the outside edges, right? But everybody and their brother is looking for the inside corner, and everybody's hunting that outside edge. I want to move past it. I want to get in there. And ideally, if I can go in and find some really super thick stuff that I have to, sometimes will get on my hands and knees and crawl through, if I can get into some stuff that kind of, it's almost like water. Water became the limiting factor for a lot of people until Jacob Emery and some of these other people made it famous for water access and taking the canoe and the kayak in. But for a long time, water held people back. That was the stopping point. It was a stopping point. Well, I kind of look sometimes at briars and brambles and really super thick CRP that people don't want to walk through because it's just hard. Yeah. Sometimes, you're going to bust some deer out, right? But sometimes I want to get in there. And then all of a sudden, you might go 100 yards, and all of a sudden it opens up in there. Well, where it opened up, there's that edge. Yeah. And if I only need a tree about 6 inches around. Yeah. And if I could just get up just enough to see, and a lot of people say, well, just hunt on the ground. I don't like hunting. I can't see as well. I can't. You're going to get busted drawing. I want to be up in a tree and still be able to shoot 30 or 40 yards away. Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking for something. I want something that's going to block some people. Maybe go up a big mountain that, it's probably going to wear me out and tucker me out to get up there. But I know a lot of people aren't going to do it just because it's effort.
Getting to where other people won't go. Yep. Now, is there a thing to touch on that? Mm-hmm. Is there a thing where the deer are, I'm trying to think.
I know where you're going.
Where everybody's trying to go deeper than everybody else. Yep. And we'll joke about it. We'll say the deer are back at the parking lot. We're 5 miles in.
I've got a spot that I've been hunting for 20 years. It's one of my original spots when I started hunting public land. And I know it so well, and me included, we all went so deep. And one day, this was only about 7 or 8 years ago, I was coming out and I noticed, and there was kind of a mowed lane. The Department of Natural Resources had started mowing a lane back here, which I hated. I despised, because I'm like, well, now anybody can just walk back here, and I despised it. But I was walking that little mowed lane out, and I wasn't 75 yards from the parking lot. And dude, I looked to the left, and there was a rub on there way bigger than my arm. And I kind of ducked down and looked back there, and there was another rub, and we weren't 75 yards from the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I went back there, and dude, it was tore up. And I've hunted that area now a couple times, and I feel so weird because I can literally see the parking lot from where I'm hanging up at. But it is covered with sign now.
Yeah.
And I think that's from over the years of people going back and back and back and back. And the cool thing is it kind of goes from you got to, other than that first rub, you got to go back through some thick stuff to find all the rest of the stuff. And I wish that first rub hadn't been there, but I wouldn't have ever seen it because I was walking past it every day myself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny. We've talked about that quite a bit because you hear a lot of people when they're talking, they'll say that you got to get back further than everybody else is going, further than everybody else is going, and I do it, but it always in my head. I'm like, these deer are probably up at the parking lot going, these big dummies are walking. I
think that's something to clarify because what I said earlier doesn't necessarily mean further. What my intention of what I'm looking for is harder. So not necessarily further, harder.
What's hard? Yeah, 100%.
And so harder may be halfway back to further.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people may bypass harder to get to further. And I want harder.
That's right.
So that's the distinction to make there.
That's my mushroom hunting philosophy.
Yes, exactly.
Get to whatever is hard for somebody to get to, they're not getting to.
Exactly.
If I put the work in and get there,
there you go.
I've been pretty lucky at times doing that. So same thing.
Yeah.
So okay, that's the first thing. What else are we looking for?
Oh, dude, after that, I am looking for, and it's a great thing, you and I and a lot of the community has got involved in this mobile hunting thing, and a lot of people know me for one sticking and things like that. I am looking for a tree in a location that's not so obvious. I don't want a telephone pole tree. I get it all the time in my videos are like, okay, that looks really easy, but you're climbing telephone pole trees, you're climbing straight trees. And I do have a video I'm going to make this summer called Limbs and Leaners. It shows how to go over limbs, how to attack a leaning tree. But when I'm hunting, I almost never climb a straight tree.
Yeah.
Almost ever. And case in point, there's a spot that I found a couple years ago, and I was looking around, I'm like, dude, this is an awesome looking spot. And there was a tree that, it didn't have a limb for 20 foot. And I'm like, well, there's an obvious tree. And I walked over to it, and dude, it had climber marks. Yeah. And I'm like, well, there we go.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So I did not hunt that tree because, no one was in it. No one was around. But I guarantee you some deer, especially a wise old nanny, which they're the worst. Or a 4-year-old buck, they've pegged that tree as, okay, I've walked by that tree and someone's been in it before. So I did not want to climb it.
Right.
So I'm looking for a location that lends itself to, okay, I can be downwind, 30, 40 yards. Hopefully it's got a lot of cover behind me, and it's a little hard to get into, going back to the hard philosophy. I've got to navigate 3 or 4 limbs. I've got to go maybe up this side, spin around because the tree starts leaning there.
Yes.
Now I'm climbing the backside. And so I'm looking for something like that.
Yeah. I love trees. Like my oldest son, and I got a buddy. I've taken him out to a couple of my spots where I hunt on some private land. I'll let him hunt, and he'll look at my trees and be like, "Dude, this is sketchy as heck."
Yep.
And I'm like, I love them because no one else is climbing.
Exactly.
And I feel like it gives me more cover in certain times. There's actually 2 of them. I have one it's an old preset.
Yeah.
And I set it up. I have a tethered XL, their XL platform.
Yeah.
Predator XL.
Yeah.
I have it. I leave it in the tree, and I use some hawk sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And that top hawk stick, I use 3. It's literally like this sideways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "I've been hunting this tree for years."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's never kicked out, never slid on me. But I'm always aware.
Yeah.
This is kind of shady, so I got a full hand, 3 points of contact.
Yeah.
But once I get up there, I've got a limb back behind me I can lean up against. I'm in between limbs. I'm in a fork or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what I like. And I a lot of people will say that stuff about your, like, say, your videos, but you're doing demonstrations.
Exactly.
You're not trying to show how hard this can be. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I want them to catch the big points that's important. it's so I'm going to do that video this summer.
Yeah.
I've been putting it off, limbs and leaners, because I'm like, how hard is it to go over a limb? I can't make myself do that video yet. I'm going to do it just because I want to get everything off my list and be done with it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I just want to be done
Yeah.
with the things that I want to teach people and move on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it, but I keep procrastinating because people are like, well, how do you go over a limb? I'm like, how do you go over a limb now? Dude, you put your lineman belt on, you move your tether up, you take your lineman belt off, and I'm like, it's not too difficult.
What kills me, this kind of on the same subject but different. Some of the questions you see in some of the forums, where the biggest one that gets me is, how do you pee out of a saddle? I'm like, what do you mean? How do you pee out of a saddle? It's not difficult.
I got a video on it if you want to go check it out.
No way you do.
Yeah.
You do?
It's called how to pee out of a saddle.
Go check out how to pee out of a saddle.
Yeah.
That my big the big buck I shot, the drop tine I shot this year. Dude, I just real quick story. I literally went to sleep in my saddle.
Yeah.
I slept for probably 30 minutes. Yeah. Woke up, got to pee.
Yeah.
Turn around, peed out of my saddle, turned back around, got comfortable. 17 yards, that sucker standing there staring at me.
As soon as you finished peeing.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
It was the craziest time.
Yeah.
And I smoked him, so I was super happy about that.
I actually, before that big buck I shot this year, the last 2 bucks I shot before, I actually shot, because it is a funny video. It's how to pee out of a saddle. But the real purpose of the video is to show how we take a drop shot, a convenient way to take a drop shot. So it kind of segues itself into that. That's the real purpose. So there's a real good teaching point behind that video. But I actually killed 2 bucks using the technique of how to pee out of a saddle, because what I do is I turn around and throw my tether over my right shoulder, and then you're standing there with your back, and you can lean out as far as you want, which is how to pee, but you can just stand there and act like you're in a tree stand almost, and that's the way I killed 2 of my big bucks the preceding years.
Yeah, I did the same thing to that one right there. He came in, and I just spun around.
Yeah.
Well, he was coming in this way, straight to me, so I was like, man, don't move. He'll bust you. Yeah. Well, he was watching another buck, and he stopped, and he turned around and started back that way. So as soon as he turned around, I grabbed my bow, and I just spun around. Yep. And when I did, my tether just came right across my shoulder just like that. Yeah. I knew I wasn't going nowhere, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I just waited for the opportunity. As soon as he turned, I smoked him. Yeah. But that's, definitely, that's a great tool to have in there.
It is, and people just got to get used to trusting their equipment. Yeah. You have so many people go, God, it kills me when I see people talk about make double bridges and stuff. I'm like, dude, these ropes are rated to 5,500 pounds. You can't eat enough cheeseburgers to stress it. Yeah,
as long as you pay attention to what you're doing and double and triple check your stuff. Yeah, just like the old boy
that's one of my last videos. It's about 4 or 5 videos back on my page now, but it's called "This Guy Fell 17 Foot from a Saddle," and I actually reached out to that guy, and that
was recent, right? Where he wasn't clipped all the way in or something.
It was this past fall, and he's actually friends with the guy that I'm mentoring down there in the Mississippi area, and so he put me in contact with him because I mentioned it. He goes, yeah, I'm friends with that guy who did that, because there's a lot of people think that was a fake video, that he did that for clicks and views. It was real, because a lot of people are like, he fell 17 foot, was okay. I'm like, yeah, by the grace of God. Really.
Yeah, didn't he get back up?
He got back up and killed a doe that night. But yes, I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, dude, do you mind if I use a small snippet, a clip of your video? Because I'd kind of like to reinforce some things, because I'm seeing, I'm online enough that I notice trends and patterns, and and I was like, I'm starting to see a lot of people that are starting to get careless, and it kind of culminated with that, right? And I'm like, man, I would love to use just a little bit of your clip and make a video on that. And he said, you go for it. And so I took a little clip of that, and I made that video. It's called This Guy Fell 17 Foot from a Saddle. But I talk about what to look for. There's 3 checkpoints every time I climb a tree. Every move I make to go up from, ground level to my first move when I'm one sticking to the second move to the third, I look for the same 3 things every single time. And it's basically making sure my bridge is attached, making sure my carabiner is attached to my bridge, making sure my You know, the carabiner up here to my tether is clipped, but they're completely what that kid had done was he had clipped onto his bridge, and he didn't make sure that the rope of his bridge was seated all the way into the carabiner. So it literally had stuck halfway. His gate, his screw gate,
His gate was kind of like biting it.
Was biting the bridge.
Gotcha.
It was halfway on. So he was actually up there for like 30 or 40 minutes, and he just twisted just right one time, talking to his cameraman actually, and he twisted, and the gate popped open, and he was gone.
Yeah.
There was no chance to catch yourself. No, it was gone instantly.
And that's the thing, and you see it in that video when it happens.
Yeah.
There's you're not grabbing nothing. You know what I mean?
It's
Sometimes I'm like, well, if this was, can I grab this? And I'm like, you're not grabbing that. There's no way.
It's so instantaneous. It's like not wearing a seatbelt thinking you're going to have time to buckle up in a car.
Right. It's not going to happen.
It's not happening.
You better be prepared for it or you're going to be in trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, man, that's some full of information. There's so many other things.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah,
man.
we definitely got to do it again.
We'll do it again.
Let's talk about this buck.
Yeah.
I want to hear the story about how this went down. And
yeah. So
first I want to apologize. I put some brand new accent lighting up, and Greg knocked mine on the floor, so I apologize for that right now. No,
yeah. So this buck was on a small permission piece. It was actually 2.1 acres. So
wow.
2.1 acres. And I was actually talking to a buddy of mine not too long ago, and he goes, man, the right small piece is better than the big wrong piece. And so it actually, the story goes back to the first buck I killed last year was a buck called Wonky, and there's a story, there's a trail cam pictorial. I actually document Wonky through trail camera pictures and trail camera videos, and I had to take Wonky off. Wonky had been hit by a car, and he was hit on his right side, which made his left side grow this huge spike out. So if you think of this spike here on your buck right there, it was like that, but he didn't have any left side. It was just a spike and it went straight up.
Oh, wow.
It was like a dagger that went out like 15 inches straight. So he had a beautiful curve, beautiful 8-point side over here, and then a 15-inch dagger straight up. And so I actually made a Facebook post in early October. I had a beautiful, perfect, this perfect typical 10 walked onto my camera on that property. And I'm like, I actually made a post. It said target acquired. And
I remember
that's
that,
all.
actually.
I didn't show a picture because you know how to, you got to keep everything under the vest.
Yep.
And because there's always people watching and everything. So all the post said was target acquired. Well, the next day, Wonky shows up and walks my perfect 10 off of the mock scrape I made. And Wonky is actually a small buck. I don't even know if he'll go 125 inches, but he's got this dagger through there. And then there was another 150-inch buck, and Wonky ran them all off.
No kidding.
And I'm thinking that, well, it's probably because
he's got that dagger.
He's got that dagger, dude, and it's going straight down the bike. And anytime they come and spar, dude, they're getting it right between the eyes or right in the forehead, and everything else just went away. And I'm like, I'm going to have to take Wonky out.
Yeah.
And so I was able to kill Wonky in early November, I think. And it's the first buck. This is kind of going back to the public land hunting and in my style and my methodology. It's the first buck I've ever been able to kill using trail cameras. I've ran cameras every once in a while, but I've never used them to really target bucks. They're just for fun. I might run them on a WMA or wildlife management area or national forest or something like that, but I'm usually hunting 20 or 30, 40 miles away. They have no correlation whatsoever. I might not even get the trail camera for 2 months later. I just like looking at deer pictures. Yeah. I've never used this property. I kind of did the Seek One thing. You know, Lee Ellis and those guys are very good about, they run cell cameras and they're monitoring their app and stuff. And if a buck shows up, they move in that night.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Wonky.
Yeah.
He showed up finally, the daylighted the day that Gabe killed a 153-inch public land buck, walked in blind, found an interior edge, killed a 153-inch public land buck, brute of a buck. As we were dragging him out, we stopped and paused, and I looked at my Tacticam app, and Wonky had daylighted that morning, the exact same time that Gabe killed his buck. And so I went in that night because he was headed back to an area that was pretty thick bedding. I'm like, I bet you he comes back through, and I killed him that night. So I got Wonky off the property. Dude, the next day, Big Nine shows up. Hadn't seen him in months. months.
But Wonky was gone.
Wonky was gone.
Yeah.
And which is crazy to me, but to think that they were that cognizant and that aware that Wonky was gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you not know Wonky's 4 miles away or chasing a doe?
Right.
Dude, he instantly showed up.
Yeah.
I'm like, did he see me drag Wonky out? I don't know. But it was uncanny. The next day, Big Nine was there.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Big Nine started showing up. And so I'm like, and in Missouri, where we were at, you can only kill a buck with a bow before like November 15th.
That's right.
So I couldn't move in on him. I had to wait till after rifle season, even though I'd killed Wonky and I've got 2 archery tags. I was limited to, I couldn't kill him.
Yep. Can't kill one till rifle season starts.
Season's over.
Yeah.
Or I guess starts. I couldn't kill. Well, so I couldn't. There were reasons I couldn't kill this guy until afterwards, but. So I had to wait, and he's just daylight. He's showing up here. I move in on him, and he actually comes down the pike, and he's coming right at me, and then a hot doe runs by, and he turns and chases him. I'm like, crap. And, the rut can be the best of times, the worst of times, And so I didn't see him for another week. And, dude, I would go in every time I needed a northwest wind. Every time I'd get a northwest wind, I'd go in on that buck. And I didn't see him for another week. And this one night I'm sitting there and I'm texting some friends and I'm watching. It's freaking cold. It was December 9th, I believe it was, December 11th, something like that. It was middle of December, and we had a cold front come in. It's one of the reasons I moved in. We had the north wind come in, and I was freezing that night. And I'm sitting there watching, and all of a sudden he just materializes in front of me, and he comes and he's just about to go to the right. And if he goes to the right, I'm out of the game.
You're out of it.
And I turned to the left, and this past year, I started using a Hattie bow call.
Yep.
Love that call. I've always been a fan of the True Talker. Still, if you say, well, does the True Talker no good anymore? No, it's still a great call. But I really love the Hattie bow because it's got this clicky grunt to it.
Clicks.
It's so cool. So I turned to the left, and and just kind of that clicky thing. And dude, he stopped, and it was so cool because he was like 75 yards straight away from me, and he stared my direction for like 6 minutes. He was so stock still staring my direction that I actually lost him. Like completely lost him.
Just blended in.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm literally questioning my own sanity. I'm like, he didn't walk off, and I missed him, did he? And I'm literally blinking.
You're like, nope, he's still there.
I'm blinking, and I look away, and finally I was like, okay, I picked him out again. I'm like, he's right where he was. He hasn't moved a muscle.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And then finally he like starts off that way, and he turns, and I'm afraid he's going to walk too far that way. And I did one more little thing. Dude, he locked onto me again. I'm like, dude, did I screw it up? Because now I've really let him pinpoint me. But I was afraid he was walking just almost at a 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
And then he stared for another 3 or 4 minutes. And luckily, a doe moved way back behind me over that way. And I caught her out of the corner of my eye because I'm kind of like looking at him. My eyes are going that way.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I see movement back there. I kind of turn my head, just barely see a doe. And he starts angling toward me. And he angled toward me, got to about 35 yards. And he was actually coming down a trail that I knew it by heart. The yards. He went a little outside of that. And I'm like, crap, I'm not exactly sure. I'm like flipping telephone poles in my brain. I'm doing all this thing. I'm like, okay, that's 34. He's got to be, and and I'm doing all this mental math here, and I've snapped a draw. And luckily, I just drilled him. He ran over here, and he's actually only standing about 18 yards away. He's facing directly at me, and he's just wheezing. I can just hear him wheezing. I'm like, okay, you're done.
Smoked him.
Yeah, smoked him. So yeah, and then he finally did that last minute death run bolt where he got scared, this world's closing in on him, he's going black, and then he bolts off, but yeah, he didn't go far. And it was pretty cool. So,
see, got Wonky out of there. And
got Wonky. That was the key to everything.
What'd you do with Wonky?
He is getting Euro'd.
Yeah. Nice.
And I'm doing the Big 9 as a pedestal mount. So I got a buck that I call Freak Nasty. I know, really original, right? But it's the only non-typical I've ever killed. Everything else has been pretty typical of everywhere I've been. This one he's got a drop tine. He's got trash everywhere. He actually ran off my ultimate goal. I still have a goal left, even though we've talked about the ultimate quest. I want to kill a gross booner on public land. Never done it yet. I've got 167. I've got a couple in the 160s. I've never went over 170. So I want a gross booner on public land. Well, I had him coming one time, and he came out of the woods. I was on a fence row that led into the woods. He stepped out, made a left. I came to full draw. I just needed him to take 2 more steps into an opening. He was easy in the 175s, mid 170s, easy. And because I've killed a lot of 150s, 160s. I know what it's going to take to go 170. And he's easy in the mid 170s. I'm at full draw. I'm locked in. Calm, ice in the veins, just perfect scenario. He's going to take 2 steps, be slightly quartering away. I'm going to send it right in behind the pocket. It's going to be awesome. And all of a sudden, he just his fur fluffs up. He bristles up. And I'm like, I'm thinking, he can't smell me. The wind was right in my face, and he just melts back into the woods. And I am screaming internally. I let down, and I'm like, what happened? Because he was my best buck ever. I'm just screaming again internally. Yeah. Thank God. Thank God it was internally. Because as I'm kind of closing my eyes, looking, I'm like, oh, I look down, and there's this big freaking non-typical that's walked across his CRP field. He walked that buck off. He was a little smaller. He makes 167, but he's pretty cool, and he's and so I come to full draw again, and I got him. Now the thing I've always said, I have 2 goals. One is to kill a gross 170. Another thing I've always wanted to see a big buck come from a long way and just walk in. I've got all these bucks on my wall like you do, right? Every one of them has been split second, because I hunt a lot of interior edge. They'll materialize or morph out of this cover, and they're there.
Because you don't have a lot.
I don't.
You don't have a lot of distance you're shooting anyway when you get into those spots. So when them deer appear, they appear. Oh crap! There he
split
is.
Second, there you go, and you got to be ready.
Isn't that the greatest feeling in the world though? When you look and you go, oh crap! There he is.
There he is. Almost like you're talking about you peeing in there. There he was, right?
Yeah.
And so I got this non-typical. He was cool, and he's on a pedestal mount. That's the whole reason I bring that story up. But he had walked across his mowed CRP for 150 yards, but I was focused on this big typical that was 175. Here, I'm focused on, in fact, I'm at full draw waiting for him to take 2 steps. So I was never looking off to the right. I am locked on that big booner. And so I never saw him walk in until
that was your opportunity.
That was my opportunity.
Watch him walk in.
And he came from a patch of woods way over there, walked all 150 yards across that. It was mowed 2 inches down.
So that was a beautiful scene.
Oh, I would have loved to see that. I'm glad I got him. I'm not complaining. But I would have loved to watch him in. But I thought I was about to kill that big booner. But I never saw the big booner again. But anyway, I've got that non-typical on a pedestal mount. And so the big 9, the one I killed that we just went through that story, I'm putting him on an opposite pedestal mount. And then I've got a big 167 and 4/8 typical 12 above him, so he's going to be on real low. He's going to be underneath him. It's going to be offset. It's going to be really cool. But then Wonky is going to be just a Euro laying on the end table.
Oh, that'll be super.
Because that way he's a part of the Big 9 story.
Yeah, for sure. He's got to be included.
Yeah,
and just like that one, I love that unique rack stuff. You know what I mean? It's so cool. Yeah. But man.
Yeah.
What bow are you using?
I still shoot it. It's so funny. Every once in a while, people will see my pictures of, the hero shot, or see me practicing, or see me in a tree. They're like, dude, are you still shooting a Bowtech Destroyer? I'm like, yeah,
Bowtech Destroyer.
It's a 2010.
You know how many times I've come so close to buying a Destroyer?
I have three
you
now.
3 of them?
I have 3.
Now, I do love Bowtech.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 or 4. But I've always heard about those Destroyers, that they're great bows.
So a lot of people ask me, are like, "What? That's a 16-year-old bow now." It's because mine's a 2010. All mine are 2010s. Actually, I take that back. Mine are 2011, because 2010, that was back when I was on Bowtech's corporate advisory staff. The first year, the string groove, and the cams weren't quite deep enough when they first came out. And Bowtech was the worst back then about coming out with something, rushing it to market, and the consumer base became the field testers.
Yeah.
Not a good thing, right? And so there were a lot of cams that derailed at full drive. If someone just torqued it just slightly, the string would completely derail and blow up.
Yeah.
And they thought their bow blew up. No, it was the string came off the string reel. So the engineers at Bowtech had to go back and deepen the string groove. So if you're listening to this and you do buy a Bowtech Destroyer, make sure it's a 2011, not a 2010, or about they did a mid-year change at the tail end of 2010.
It has a deeper groove.
It's got a deeper groove and it won't derail as much. So all mine have deeper
Good
grooves.
to know for sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the thing, and I've said this for years, bow performance stalled or topped out about 2010. And when I say that, I know people are going to get up in arms.
Yeah.
But a 7-inch brace will get a 340 feet per second bow. A 6-inch brace will get a 350-inch brace. So every inch of brace buys you 10 feet per second. 7-inch, 340, 6-inch, 350. We haven't improved on that. The dynamic efficiency topped out back then. We cannot improve on that as a industry.
Right.
Now, can you tune a bow better? You don't need shims. You can do tuning without a bow press, all that. There's all the lock stuff, all that. Yeah, you can tune a bow better. Can you put more bells and whistles and doohickeys and gizmos so that maybe it doesn't vibrate as much? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the dynamic efficiency, we haven't improved upon.
Yeah. And that's funny that you say that because I've got some old Bowtech Prodigies that I really like.
Yep.
I bought an APA
Yep.
this last year.
Yep.
Just on a whim. Had
Yep.
never heard of them. I was looking for something
I love
different.
them. Yeah.
I was like, man, what
They
can
have
I...
the carry handle with the fangs
Yeah,
on it.
I love
the fang
it.
You can
The
set on a limb.
fang.
Yep.
It's got a built-in camera mount on it. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's so many little things I love.
They're cool.
It's even got a pull-up rope,
Oh, wow.
which is...
Yeah.
I actually used it one time just
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
It's not like using a Doyle's or something,
Right.
But if you got out somewhere and you realize when you got to the tree, I don't have my pull-up rope,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to save you. So
Yeah,
I was like,
cool.
that's cool. I like
Yeah.
it. But, it was rated, and the IBOs kill me the way they do these with these bows. I mean, they'll make it sound like you can shoot this bow 360 feet per second.
Yeah. That's a 5 grain per arrow shaft. And
Yes, it's...
most people aren't hunting with 5 grains
No.
per pound.
And so, so I bought the APA, and I'm thinking this is gonna be the fastest bow I got.
Yeah.
It is by this much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My SR6
Yeah.
will keep up with it.
Yeah.
My Prodigies, I mean, they're what, maybe 10 feet per second,
Right.
or feet per second slower.
Yeah. But probably a lot more comfortable draw cycle.
Way.
Yeah.
I mean, I told somebody, I said that APA is like pulling back a man bow. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's probably...
you're gonna pull it back. You're going to hold it back, and then you're
Yeah.
going to let it go when it's time.
Yeah.
I go out and grab my Bowtech.
Yeah.
I said, it feels like a kid's bow now because I just
Yeah.
grab it, and it's just like,
Right.
I can sit here, and it almost feels like you could just let go, and it'll stay right there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then you grab it, and then you shoot.
Yeah, the draw force curve's a lot more mellow
Yeah.
than that spike.
And you're
But-
talking 10 feet per second difference. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I question myself. I'm like, what do you...
Yeah, so I have a lot of people that go, I can't believe you're shooting an old bow. I'm like, dude, the specs, they haven't improved on it, and I'm not going to go spend $1,500 on a new bow. And I could probably let's be honest. I mean, because of my position in the industry and who I am and all the articles I write and my YouTube channel and all the traffic that I generate and eyeballs that I draw, I could probably reach out to a bow company and have them send me a bow for free.
Sure.
It's not worth it because I love my old destroyer.
Yeah.
It's
And
just,
at the end of the day, that's what counts for
Yeah.
sure. Shoot what you love,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I did buy a brand new Hoyt.
Yeah.
I've shot a Hoyt, I think, one time in my life prior to this. And I for some reason, I got on this kick. I was like, I want to get a Hoyt. I
Yeah.
don't know, what
they
I want to
make
get.
awesome bows.
Well, when I was growing up, my cousins, I had some cousins, Tony
Yeah.
Nevins, Terry Nevins, Ted Nevins. These guys, they were doing the gig, and they
Yeah.
were running the woods,
Yeah.
and they were all older than me.
Yeah.
So whenever I was around them, I was a little runt, but I always thought these guys were cool. And for some reason, I always remember them. They were shooting Hoyts,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's kind of like the hillbilly bow, maybe not hillbilly, but the guy that's just backwoods and he's getting
Yeah.
after it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's his life. And so I always thought, one of these days I'm gonna get a Hoyt.
Yeah.
Well, I actually bought AX333,
Okay.
and I like the color. It's that Georgia clay.
Yeah.
That got me. But when I held that bow the first time, I was like, oh my goodness, just the way it held
Yeah.
was amazing to me.
Right.
And I think it's because it's 33 inches axle to axle, and I'm used to shooting a shorter axle to axle.
Yeah. That's
And-
funny that you think 33 is long.
Right. Hey, my boy's looking at a 35 inch, and I'm going, man, that's long, dude.
Dude, we were shooting 36, and like, yeah, it was 38 was before it got long for when I was growing up in the bow world. It was like 36-inch bow was like average.
Average.
34 was starting to get really short.
Yeah. Well, he even asked me, he was like, he goes, if I get a 35-inch bow, am I going to have a problem going over my bridge? And I was like,
Dude,
no.
people have 72-inch longbows.
I said, yeah, have you seen how long some of them recurves are?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to not have no problem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, hey, man, it's been great talking to you. We could go on all night. I pray that we get to do this again sometime soon. So, been a blast, man. And
absolutely.
I always enjoy talking
Thanks
to
for
you.
having me over, man.
Thank you very much for making the trip, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a heck of a drive for you. So
yeah, well, like I said, I was close for work, so we might as well just integrate it and pull it off.
I appreciate it more than you know.
You bet, buddy.
Everybody watching, I hope you learned some tips and tricks. Make sure you check out stagsinthewild.com. Make sure you check out Staggs in the Wild on YouTube, the YouTube channel. I'm telling you, there's some great videos on there. If you're not familiar with it, a lot of you watching probably are familiar with it. But if you're not, check them out. There's all kinds of videos on one stickin, saddle hunting, trapping, fishing,
catfishing.
Because we didn't even touch on that.
We'll have to talk catfishing sometime. Man, you got a pretty river right behind your house.
I'm telling you, dude.
I'm gonna have to bring the Easy Cat over.
I'm gonna bring my buddy Chris over, and we'll do some catfish stalking for sure. But I hope you learned some tips and tricks. Check out his site. Check out his YouTube. Definitely worth visiting. As always, thank you for checking us out, man, and watching us. And as always, blend better, hunt harder.
Every season brings us back for more. It's blood trails and bucktails, round the fire where the whiskey sails. Every hunt's a story, every shot's a chance. What's your story to tell?